when you're eating pretty much anything that has corn in it, which is basically any food in the United States that you can buy in the grocery store, unless it's meat or a vegetable. That's life sciences. A lot of fuel that goes into your vehicles, if you're buying a fuel that has ethanol or any biofuel based products, that's life sciences. If you've taken a genetic test like 23andMe, or if you've done one for your dog like in BART, that's life sciences. So I think that perhaps one of the biggest misunderstandings that you allude to is that life sciences really touches somebody's life, not just when they go to the doctor or they get sick, but also the food they eat, the fuel they put into their vehicles, the paper they're reading, the water they're drinking. Pretty much everything touches some part of the life sciences. So it's a pretty fascinating field to be a part of.
Like, science can be so exciting if you just present it right. That's really all they need. They just need that voice, you know? It's why guys like, you know, you get Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku and Brian Greene, and like I can go on and on about those guys.
Bill Nye.
Bill Nye, there you go. Like the ones who actually know how to make it like present it in a way that is interesting outwardly for people who don't already understand what they're talking about. And that's when people go, oh yeah, science, that's cool. You know what I mean? That's when it can shine. But yeah, it's hard to do with a lot of things, especially with the really complex, you know, products or theories or whatever it is you're dealing with. The more complex it is, the harder it is to package it in that poppy, you know, hey, here's something cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is that gap that you got to kind of find that voice to bring and really shout down the propaganda.
I think there are some positive things that this particular FDA might be able to accomplish in terms of removing some regulatory hurdles or lessening some burden, so that some other projects that really are products that are potentially really life-changing for a number of people have a better shot at getting through. But unfortunately, you know, we're seeing some of this other stuff, and when we're not talking about it as an industry, when we're not really having serious conversations around the pros and cons of these executive orders and regulations that pass through, then, you know, we're at risk of, like you said, harming all of us. And so it's an important conversation to have. And I wish more people would talk about it and not shy away because it's a little political.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
we like it. Just because it's political doesn't mean it's not also common sense.
Exactly.
I mean, I remember the 90s, man. You could talk about politics openly, and it was a discussion. It wasn't an argument. We need to stop making everything about politics an argument.
Right.
It's supposed to be a discussion.
If it's not building what people need and getting through, you know, regulatory hurdles, then somebody else is going to get through and meet that need. And that's how you end up with beef tallow at the top of the food pyramid. That's not because of something magic or necessarily even something bad or nefarious, but because that story, that PR strategy worked better than the science did. When we have years of increasingly better nutrition science, peer-reviewed, really well-run studies, better run than we have ever had, completely ignored. You know, that is, those studies aren't telling the story well. And the PR surrounding that, the PR strategists surrounding them just aren't doing a good enough job shipping those stories and communicating them to the general public so that the average person can say, hey, that doesn't seem right. That seems a little illogical. I'm paraphrasing, but the FDA typically doesn't want somebody to learn that they have HIV at home, right? That was something we heard for years. But HIV at-home testing is now available and plentiful. Anybody can go to, you know, a CVS or a Walgreens and buy these at-home HIV tests and take them in the privacy of their home and then determine their own next steps. Whereas for years, we heard the FDA doesn't want that. They want somebody to be diagnosed under the care of a medical professional so that medical professional can guide next steps. But what that turned into was a lot of people not testing. It created a barrier because not everybody could afford that testing. Not everybody wants to go to a low-cost clinic or can take time off of work. You know, there were all of these barriers, right? And now we're seeing more people take these tests and diagnose at home. And we're seeing this not just in HIV, right, but in lots of different areas.
it's, I mean, I remember the 90s, man. You could talk about politics openly, like it, and it was a discussion. It wasn't an argument. We need to stop making everything about politics an argument.
Right. It
It's
is a,
supposed to be a discussion.
and I would say, as long as I have this podcast, right, and it could be, and hopefully years and years from now, I don't care what administration is in office.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to ask the questions because I think they deserve to be asked, and we should talk about it.
100%.
And I think too, like one of the points of this show is to make people care about healthcare, right? Because it's always just been kind of fed to us, right? Like this is how it is, deal with it. Suck it up. Here's your insurance, whatever your premium, blah, 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 your network. Things are changing and we need to understand what we have available to us. And so that is such a huge goal of the uprising, is to get people to start paying attention. You're not going to care about everything we talk about, but you should care about some of it.
Thanks for joining us on the Healthcare Uprising. Make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons before you go, and take a moment to think of a friend and hit that share button. You can find us on all the major audio platforms, and we've got video on YouTube if you want to watch us in action.
You can also find us on social media on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Just search Healthcare Uprising to find us. And if you're a new company with a cool new product, if you're someone innovating alternative methods for the health and wellness space, or if you have a personal healthcare journey you'd like to share with us here at The Uprising, please email us at healthcareuprising@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you about coming on the show. Well, that's all for this dose of Healthcare Uprising. Until the next time, keep looking for the good in the world, because sometimes it's where you least expect it.
We are not doctors and we don't play one on TV. If you need medical advice, consult with your physician or a healthcare professional. This has been a Shut Up production.